From Svitek comes a weekly digital series where he shares his insights, concepts, and findings learned during his 15-year journey of working in the entertainment industry. Each lesson offers you a roadmap to overcome the challenges that all artists face on the path to success. Welcome to a Svitek podcast.
My name is Svitek, 360 creative coach, and it's my pleasure to have you join me for this episode. It is my mission to help you master mental fortitude because in order to succeed as a creative, it takes way more than just talent and luck. And in this lesson, one of the things I want to tackle that I see a lot of people deal with is a quarter-life crisis. Now, that's just one term for it, but it's this idea where they don't think they're far enough in their careers, and they also think like they're meandering. They don't have a straight career path. Well, number one, there is no straight career path when it comes to this business. And also, I think the career ladder in general is a myth in a lot of ways. I think a lot of people look at someone like Tiger Woods and see like, oh, he was a prodigy from the get-go and, he just worked at golf and he became great and that's how I not need my path to be. And I use Tiger Woods because that's who David Epstein cites. Now, David Epstein is a sports writer for ESPN, and he actually has this generalist theory. And he compares Tiger Woods to Roger Federer, who is an amazing tennis player, and yet his path to get there meanders. It's not like he picked up a tennis racket at the age of 2 and then just stuck with it. He played all kinds of various sports, and partly because of that, that's what makes him great. And much like we look at people who win the lottery or people who make millions of dollars at the age of 20 as like, oh, that's the success story to model. No. The real millionaires and people that succeed are they succeed over time. Like the best directors generally are like 40 to 50, right? Because they've accumulated that wealth of knowledge and now are ready to be world class. And so we have to kind of view it from that perspective as well, where in terms of having a career path, it doesn't exist. I think we all try various things, and I think a lot of people feel like, oh, well, I tried a certain thing and it was a waste of my time. Like, why wasn't I doing X, Y, and Z for the past 2-3 years, maybe longer? Then I would be so much further ahead in my career, and it doesn't work like that. Don't negate your experience from the past. David Epstein is a wonderful example of this because he had a good knowledge of science and he had a good knowledge of sports, but he wasn't the best in both. But yet combined, he became a sports scientist for ESPN. That, as he calls it, that was his match fit. And a lot of times, I think we put too much pressure on ourselves and younger people of like right after college, they got to figure out exactly what it is they want their career to be. They got to know the career path, otherwise they're wasting their time and so forth. And it's unfortunate because, as older people, I think the best advice that is ever given of like, oh, just suck it up, you'll figure it out. And, I went through it was equally as tough, blah, blah, blah. As opposed to really guiding and nurturing people and letting people try. I think there was a great video I saw from Gary Vee on his Instagram that I've linked to below, and in it, a woman asked him like, hey, I've been selling real estate for the past 18 months and I feel like I'm not passionate about it. Do I have burnout? And he responds to her, I don't think you haven't burnt out. Like if people jump to diagnosing and this ultimate deep dark thing of like, you're burnt out, when in fact, it's just a matter of like, you've lost passion for it. You did it, you tried it, you learned something from it, and now it's time to switch. And unfortunately, the world out there kind of discourages you from trying out various things. But you know what? It only makes you a deeper human being, right? So, there isn't anything. If I was in an interview and someone asked me, well, you edit movies and so forth, why do you all of a sudden want to, let's say I was getting into marketing? Well, I think there's a lot of things that apply in filmmaking that apply to marketing. Or, I'm sure I could think of a greater example than that, one that's like just totally apples and oranges of like, wait, you used to be this and you want to be that. But there's plenty of examples of people switching career paths and finding success. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, I interviewed Fern Ronay, who was a lawyer and very pragmatic and so forth, and she switched into a very creative field. But she doesn't negate what she learned there. She's able to apply it. Another friend of mine, Ebony K. Williams, she was a lawyer and a wonderful lawyer, but then she took that and is able to leverage it into hosting and other, for lack of a better term, charitable works and things that she's doing. So never negate the things that you've done. They have built you and gained you a certain knowledge, but don't, people often talk about finding their purpose. I don't think it's about purpose. Just go after your passion, right? And your passions will change over time, but just continue to follow your passions and do it from a kind-hearted place, and you won't go wrong. And I promise you, as much as we look at like all these prodigies that since day one, they knew what they were going to do and they were headed for that trajectory, there's also equal success stories of people that tried multiple things, and because of that, they found a unique match fit. And so, I myself always thought that I would be an editor, and you know what? That's not actually my match fit. What I like doing is jumping from various projects of all kinds in terms of creativity and bringing them to light. So, and I recommend David Epstein's book called Range if you're interested in that. And I also linked to a wonderful episode from the Goop podcast that is about the quarter life crisis that explains far more of this in greater detail than I am doing right now. Also, there's a wonderful debate, if you will, between David Epstein and Malcolm Gladwell, who has the 10,000 hour principle, which states like if you do something for 10,000 hours, you become a master at it. And I thought for sure they would butt heads and they would disagree, but they actually come to quite a unique conclusion together. And it's less of a debate, more of a let's just talk and kind of agree and question each other. And so that's another thing that I'll link to as well if you want to dive deeper into some of this stuff. But nonetheless, I encourage you to not sweat it. You are not behind on your career. You just haven't necessarily maybe found your match fit, and just keep going, okay? And honor all the things that you have done in your past. I don't care if it's working at a fast food restaurant or working at the mall. It doesn't matter. We've all had jobs of starting places. In fact, one of the things there's a podcast called Girl Boss Radio. And one of the questions Sophia and Marusa always ask, like, what was your first job? Because we all have a first job that isn't so glamorous. But anyway, I hope this kind of settles your nerves a little bit in terms of where you're at in life and releases the tension. And, if you have any questions, please, by all means, ask in the comments section or hit me up on social media. And let's, make this really interactive. That's the fun part about this day and age of all these digital platforms we live in, is that we can be very interactive and share all kinds of ideas together and learn together. That's really the fun part about it. And anyway, speaking of sharing, in the spirit of the holiday season, if you would be so kind to also share this podcast with a friend, that would mean a lot to me, because hopefully they too can benefit from this. Anyway, I appreciate you joining me. I know your time is extremely valuable, so I thank you. I'm at Phil Svitek on social media, and I hope to see you next time.